Maybe he's not though. No, I imagine the answer is somewhere in the longer form of the podcast. But let's watch this clip here. So again, this is Tucker Carlson with Patrick Bet-David talking about dual citizenship. Now, clearly, you can probably have an idea. Tucker wants to completely do away with dual citizenship, which I am also a proponent of. Even if it was a temporary measure, I think we need to do, we're going to have to do hard measures because simply closing the border this late into letting this many people into the country is a step that's just too weak and too soft, and it's not going to help a lot. You got to take as many hard measures as possible to really stop the flow and stop the bleeding. So I agree with Tucker's position here, but let's watch the clip. And again, everybody in chat, let me know if the volume is off. I'm watching it. It looks yellow on my screen, but if it's bad, I will change it.
But I think about America the way that I think about, a ship that's leaking. It's like, one thing I know is I'm staying on it, whether it, I'll ride it to the bottom or not, but I'm here.
So at what capacity are you willing to contribute for it not to leak? Is it at any capacity, or is it limited capacity that you're willing to personally
Well, I don't have
contribute?
any options. And by the way, if I were in charge, if I were some sort of benign monarch, hopefully benign, no dual passports in my country. Sorry. I mean, because that really is the measure of commitment. Are you all in or not? Like, do you have options? Have you burned the boats, as they say? And I think you should be required to burn the boats. No, you can't go back. You're here. And once you are, this is what marriage is. This is why you treat your wife better than you treat your girlfriend, because you're married to her and it's very hard to get out of, and you've got children together. And so in a normal marriage, the person's like, well, one thing I know I'm not doing is divorcing. So
doesn't that go without saying though? If you have dual citizenship or you are a proponent of it, wouldn't that by itself imply someone who's not a dual citizen to question just how loyal you may be? Someone who has single or solo citizenship, I'm a citizen of one country. I think it begs the question that should be the normal framing of it. If you're a dual citizen, it should be like, okay, so you're just less American than me. You're actually half American. You're half American and you're half wherever that other citizenship you got from is. At least that's the way I view it.
So I'm going to actually try. I'm going to suck it up and try. And that works. Sucking it up and trying works. Right. I feel the same way about my country. I'm not going anywhere. I don't have another passport. I wouldn't get another passport. How many people do I know with dual passports? Like 1 million? And they tend to be the richest people and the people who've gotten the most from the country, who've really benefited from our systems, which they've then destroyed. And I think that should be illegal. Like, pick a country and pick a military. No, you can't serve in a foreign military.
I think that I don't agree making it illegal, right? Because what does it happen with all of the people currently who have dual citizenship? I think you put a stop in it. And maybe he's not saying that. I don't want to put words in Tucker Carlson's mouth. But the way he kind of says it is like, what, we're just going to start rounding up all the people who have dual citizenship? Like, no way, we can't do that. I think it'd be better to just put a stop on it and be like, you can no longer apply. Like, we don't accept dual citizenship here. I think that's a better way to go about it, and just and put it on hold, or just eliminate the program entirely until we can reinstitute it and we're in a better place to accept legal immigration, which I don't even think is a thought right now, right? Like, especially with the level of immigration we've got. The commonly referred to figure is 10 million people in the last few years. I've seen leaks and seen other reports that speak to a much higher and bigger number. I'm more keen to believe it is the higher, bigger number. I've seen reports of over 30 million, which if you think that's literally like 10% increase of our population. If we had 330 million in 2020, if you add 30 million, I mean, that's a 10% population increase. That's devastating to this and destabilizing too. From everything from economics to just normal everyday culture to every aspect of life gets frayed like that, because you're adding, like, now instead of having 10 people, there's 11. In every situation there's now an added person. It changes the dynamics of things. But let's continue.
What? And no, we're not going to pay you to serve in a foreign. I don't care what the country. I don't care if it's England or Sweden, where my ancestors came from. I don't care if it's Burkina Faso, where yours came from, or Iran, where yours came from. It's like, no. And you should be all in. I just, the whole idea of it, it's like an Airbnb. They're using the country's like a fucking Airbnb to them. And it's not an Airbnb. It's my house. That's how I feel.
Okay, so let's stay on that. When
He's right though. That's how it feels when you see everybody who's doing all this traveling. It tends to be like the richest people, and it's like in a flaunting format. And I'm curious because I don't think PBD appreciates this, because I'm assuming that he is a dual citizen, and I could be entirely wrong. I tried to fact check right beforehand. I am positive that he is a dual citizen, and I'm not sure where though.
When
Sorry.
no, this is very helpful.
Serving in a foreign military.
When you talking about
any military? I mean,
I saw
any.
that, but I know what
military.
you're talking about because I read the notes on if you're able to serve in Israel, it's going to count as.
Oh, you hate
service,
Israel?
All this stuff.
I do not hate it. I like Israel.
How does that? But what is a lot? I don't.
It always goes back to Israel, dude. Why?
I don't even want to get sidetracked. How is that
Israel.
even the logic to say like you serve in another military counts as the same as?
I don't care what. I don't care if it's. My name is Carlson.
But no, but
I'm
what's
Swedish. If you serve in the Swedish military, get out.
What's the argument?
We're not Sweden.
But
I mean, what?
how is their argument to us though? How are they saying
There's
that?
no argument. There's just like, you hate this or that. No, I don't hate anybody. And actually, in the case of that specific country, I've been there a number of times. I could describe it in detail because it's one of my favorite places in the world. I'm just saying, I do.
It's funny because that's what he's saying. If you say out loud, you're like, no, my preference is to be just around, I want my country to just be people filled with my people and my citizens from my country. They're like, whoa. You hate everyone else? And it's like, dude, you can't simply by saying that my in-group preference and my in-group bias means I hate people out of the group. It just means I have a pro-bias for the people in my group. And they try to frame it and attach those things as if they're not mutually exclusive, but they literally are.
Not just the ancient city that defines the country, in my opinion, not the modern Miami knockoff that everyone loves, but the real Jerusalem. It's unbelievable. And the people and the food, and like, I just like it. So I'm not going to fall for that. You hate it. No, I don't hate it. I just love my country. And I think you can only have one country at a time. I don't believe in polygamy either. You got one wife. And by the way, if you have two wives, I know people who are polygamous, and with respect, you're not all in on any one wife. So it's like, well, she's acting crazy. See ya. And you go deal with the other wife, right?
Yeah.
And your commitment is less.
I'll be honest. One could only wish it was that easy. I'm sure if you get one mad, they all team up against you. I imagine that's the framing of a polygamy relationship, especially in 2024.
When it's diffuse, when you've got more than one, you cannot serve two masters.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm
Amen.
quoting someone in that. And it's just true. It's factually true.
Amen. You cannot serve two masters. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with the idea. Especially if you are, and I'm not sure because we didn't really get to see what Patrick Bet-David response was to this, but it seemed like he was pushing back or at least wanting to understand why Tucker was so forthcoming with this argument. Because again, I am assuming and I'm positive that PBD is of dual citizenship. He is a dual citizen somewhere, and I just can't think of where it's at. I know he's Assyrian. He's ethnically Assyrian. So I would imagine that comes from somewhere else in the Middle East. And I could be entirely wrong, but I'm positive that's America. The case. I want that. Okay, we're doing another hard segue, right? So now we're going to do a hard segue into a couple of funny things.